All right, next up on here, we are going to, I'm going to be mindful and blocking over my fastens. So I'm going to try and put these into place. Let's see, I want this part. Okay, so what I want to have is, I think I'm just going to do this, I'm going to finish up this nearest gear. I want this piece to lock into, like this flanged bearing should fit in kind of from this side into here. So the flange, so when we're doing this, we really need to think about like what parts are going to be touching on this. For me, the parts that are going to be touching, I would look at inside this flange. What parts are going to be touching? I could do, let's see. I could maybe go back to my comment. Since we're doing these circular pieces, it's a little bit hard to say like what one piece is going to touch. Let me try this out. I'm going to go into planar mate. I'm going to select this edge, zoom back out. How are we doing? Let's zoom into here. That's what I grabbed that edge. So I think I want to grab this surface. I think I want to flip the primary axis. What's it solve? I'm gonna check. I think, oh yeah, perfect. I couldn't quite see whether that flange is there, but actually it's just in the right spot. So again, we have just done a planar mate that doesn't say anything about like, just these are in the same plane. It doesn't say anything about where they are at in that plane. So let's try and do something like cylindrical mate. And we're going to select this cylinder here. And then we are going to select this interior part here. And if we hit solve, we should get everything in the right spot. Now this hyper hub is not quite in the right spot. We're gonna have to fix that up in just a second here. But solve, that's in a good spot roughly. Let's hit escape on this. We can drag this thing. I'm not going to be worried so much about the teeth meshing. I mean, that looks pretty good. I think well, not I think, there are ways that we could get these assemblies to really work well with each other where they could actually mesh and run and everything would be like synced together, but that's just not going to be within the scope of this class. So maybe somebody else can figure that out if we want to go a little bit deeper into this, but that's not where we're going to be at with this. All right, so I have that mostly done here. I want to just add in, I'm going to get very close to making this into a sub-assembly. It looks pretty good to me. If I can make this a sub-assembly, I can copy and paste this and put it in different spots. Um, maybe even actually, maybe, you know, actually I'm gonna, okay, I'm gonna make this, I'm actually gonna make this part a sub-assembly. I'm gonna select, let's see, go into here, let's select in this, let's select in that, 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 that. We're gonna select all those parts. We're gonna make this, I'm gonna make a sub-assembly. I have to think of like a good name for this. It's gonna be one part of a gear. So let's make this, I'm making this sub-assembly only after I have everything in place. I'm gonna say like interior gear um, mesh. That makes sense to me. It could be whatever you want. It doesn't honestly matter. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna make a kind of an exterior gear mesh over here, I guess, and then I'll put those into their own kind of sub-assembly on here. All right, so I just need to repeat this process a little bit. Actually, I wonder, I want to grab one of these. Let's grab one of these bearings. I need one of these. Let's copy that. Let's paste it. We're gonna go into here. Let's get this assembly. Let's copy and paste this flange bearing assembly. We got those two. Let's see in here. So let's get these all matched up together. I'm going to go back into the same process. I think this is the best. Let me just put this directly onto the, I'm going to say this. I'm going to do that same thing with the flange bearing. I'm going to say planar mate. I'm going to select this plane. I'm going to select, where am I at over here? I'm going to select this. That'll get that there. I think I got to flip it. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna grab this piece again. Like I kind of, yeah, I don't like this so much because it is, because I think this part, oh yeah, the plane is fine, but then it's not really positioned. So even though it looks good, you have to be really careful. Like this is not totally all the way done. So I need to make sure that we go into cylindrical mate, and we're going to select this part. We're going to select that part. We're going to solve, and that should be good. Just in general, I'm going to try and grab this. If we hit escape, I want to try and grab this and then just kind of drag it in any direction, see what's going to happen. It looks like, everything's moving together. Perfect. So last up, I want to get these two things mated together. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways we could try and do this. I kind of like the planar mate first, and then we could do some other, like the cylindrical fasten. We could also do fasten mate maybe on this corner, and then we could go over to like this corner, kind of. I don't think those are exactly the right connector, though. Well, having said that, that looks pretty good. All right, that looks good to me. All right, so I'm going to make these two. I'm going to make another little, I don't know, just kind of playing around with some of these sub-assemblies. I think I'm going to make these two into a sub-assembly. They are going to be called like exterior. It's not really gear mesh, but save. And then I might just put these two into a like gear mesh sub-assembly. Yeah, we'll just have to see how this is going to work out. Like, this looks good for me so far. It has that one. That one is done. Oh, I was going to say that one's done perfectly. And then this guy, what does this guy do? Oh, because this thing is not really, it's just cylindrically on there. All right. Guys can slide up and down that cylinder. Let's see. We could try and fasten, I don't know. Ideally, I would try and fasten these two teeth together. Like I could fasten the interior of one of these. Like, what if I fasten? I don't know. I just really want to make sure that this thing doesn't move on here. I'm trying to think of a good option for what I can do here. Let's see. What if I get rid of if I had the chassis frame in here? I mean, I could honestly, it's just spending too much time. You can skip ahead if you're like good with this. So I can just hide all those things, and then I can grab this thing and I can actually rotate it around. So I could do something where it's like, I don't know, I could do the fasten mate on like this point and this. Is that gonna, you gotta see everything else now. That one might also be, so, nah, that's not gonna work. Orientation, maybe I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm just gonna assemble, again, I can make these things invisible. Maybe it's helpful to, if I look at my interior mesh, I don't care about that one, don't care about that one. If I get rid of that shaft and I just say like this thing is attached to the shaft here. Solve. I could do that, and I could do like offset. This is like way more time. I hope you've skipped ahead on this because I don't think it's really worth the time I'm spending on it. It's just, this doesn't really matter that much. Let's say it's like 1.8. That will at least just lock it in place. I don't know. I probably could have done like a group there or something, but let's do that. All right, so now everything should be visible again. I should have everything. All right, so we got these things locked in there. We have this gear mesh. Let's try and, let's see, can I use the same one for each side? I'm trying to think like if I need to mirror it all over here, but I don't think so. Let's paste our gear mesh over here. We might be able to get away. Since these are all kind of locked together, like these pieces are all locked together, if I just get one of these things locked into the right spot, if I get this thing locked into over here, I need to figure out which hole. I think it's going to be like that. Solve. Now this thing didn't go with it. Oh, because this thing is not locked. Okay, the reason this thing didn't move with it is because it's not locked into, it's locked into this U channel. It's not locked into the rest of the assembly, so it doesn't really know, like when you move me, it doesn't really know where it's supposed to go relative to the shaft, relative to the rest of this assembly. So let's see on here. Again, I'm gonna try and just, let's see. I want this relative. I want this locked right onto here, I guess. Is that gonna work? I mean, I think this is not the end of the world. I could probably figure out a good way of getting those locked together, but just in the interest of time, I'm just going to go take this thing, and I'll just have to lock this piece. Lock this piece onto the outside of this. Solve. Check. Done. Yeah, let's see about the next one. All right, I'm just going to pop to the next one just because I think I don't want this to... Oh, you guys maybe are not seeing this thing anymore. Let's zoom over just to see. You can see I have these two gear mesh. In case I hid that earlier, I have two gear mesh here. I do still have a bunch of mate features in here, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what those all belong to. I have to see. Probably all related to this gear mesh. All right. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Next up, I need to copy this over to the other side. I'm gonna just copy this. I think everything's gonna work just fine. I'm planning to I need to fasten this. I just want to copy and paste this thing. And I'm going to try and just do the same thing. I'm just going to rotate this thing around. I don't really have to rotate, but just for visually, I'm just going to think about rotating this around. And then I want to just do the same thing, mount this onto this. Now again, these things are not attached together, so that's a little bit of an issue, but I think this should be fine. Same thing I did just in the previous one. Yeah, so everything seems like it's going well so far. I'm doing the third one here. I'm just doing the bearing. Because the orientation is a little bit different, I just need to flip the axis on here. And if it's solve, everything should be good. So I got 3 of these in place, and I just need to do the last one, and that'll be it. I think the last thing I might want to do before I kind of sign off on this, I'll do the last one, and I think I want to deal with all these. I have way too many mates out here. I'd like to slide these into something, maybe into the chassis or somewhere. But yeah. All right, yeah, did the other side like that. I got these all locked in place there, so that should be good. Next up, I should be ironing on the wheels, and that'll be it. All right, so I think that's where I'm going to stop it. Down here, all these mate features are because it's like the intersection of 2 different parts that are in here. So there's some like the chassis and the motor are getting fastened together here. So that fasten is kind of not within either one of these. It just kind of belongs to kind of a collection of these. Probably because these are all like on the same level. They're not kind of one's not inside the other. I'm wondering, I could probably put like my motors inside of my chassis frame. Just kind of things like it just depends a little bit on the organization, how you want to do this. I would feel much better if there was not anything up here. Like maybe if this is in chassis frame, we could probably, yeah, I mean, there's different organizational approaches we could take here. I could put this into the chassis frame. If they're all in that frame, then all the mates would just be within that one thing, and we'd go back to having a clear, empty slate up here. Just depends, I think, a little bit on the organization and what we choose to do. So I'm going to stop it there.